A question I'm often asked is, how much should I charge for my time? There's no straightforward answer to that question, but in this video, I'm going to explain to you how you should, as a minimum, work out an hourly rate for your time, the numbers that should go into that calculation. I'm also going to share with you folks a nice free online pricing calculator that you can use to give you a guidance and how you should use that information to power your business forward. Hi folks, welcome to another weekly episode on I Hate Numbers, the YouTube channel that's there to improve your financial awareness, increase your money mindset, help you and your business make more money, save tax and save time. What's not to love? And in over 27 years of being an accountant and a business finance coach, I've helped thousands of businesses reach their potential. Let's crack on with this week's video. Now, how much you should charge for your service? There are a whole bunch of ways that you price. So if I just throw a few into the mix, like value pricing, target pricing, those are two examples of how you can actually set up pricing. Now, pricing sends a message, but more of that in future episodes. What I want to focus on really is what's the way that you go about of working out an hourly rate that you can use as a guidance point, as a guide to know whether you're undercharging or overcharging for what you're offering to your clients. Now, typically, we're talking about somebody who does a calculation purely based on time, and it considers themselves, there's two key objectives. Number one, you've got to make sure that when you charge your time out to your client, when you think about that hourly rate that you're going to be using, your estimation, whatever your nature of your business is, whether you are a subcontractor, whether you're a freelancer, time is going to enter into the mix. And as a bare minimum, your two objectives will be, number one, you've got to make sure that you recoup and cover the cost of running your business. Those costs could be any advertising promotion costs that you've got. That should factor in your own time element and what you need to draw out of that business for yourself. It will cover the cost of any travel, the cost of any professional fees, the cost of all the support and overhead costs is a bare minimum, is what you've got to recoup back. Number two, you've got to set yourself a target of making some profit out of your ventures. Now, profit may not accrue to you straight away, but if it's not in your crosshairs, if it's not in your sights, then all you've got, I'm afraid, folks, is a very time-consuming and expensive hobby on your hands, and I don't want that for you. So having decided that we need to set two financial targets, one is to recoup the costs of running our business, and number two is to make profit on top. That's our start point. Look ahead, estimate what those running costs are, estimate for yourself what your idea of a profit target is that you're aiming in that year. Now, the next set of numbers relates to time. And time can be broken down into three key facets. How much time do you actually have available to spend on and in your business during a typical week? And how many weeks in a year are you planning to work? Remember, factor in things like downtime for going on holiday, take into account any family commitments that you might have, take into account times that you might be spending away from the business, and I would also factor in perhaps those downtimes where you might feel poorly, you might have an accident or something like that. I'm not wishing that for you, obviously, at any stretch. So think about how many hours you've got available to work on and in your business, how many weeks you typically got in a 52-week year, and then what you've got to think about is how many hours within that time availability, within that time capacity, are you going to be spending on delivering the client work itself. Now let's throw a few numbers into the mix. Let's assume that in a typical working week, whether that's a Monday to Sunday, Monday to Friday, you set the parameters, folks. You have 50 hours that are available to you. You've considered what the commitments are outside of your work environment, your family commitments. You then take into account how many hours you're going to be spending on delivering that client work there. Now remember, some time will be spent on promoting the business, doing the necessary admin, doing that necessary bookkeeping up with your accounts, doing that necessary planning work, doing that necessary work where you're building networks there. Now that might be considered idle or dead time, but it's necessary in investment in your time. Let's say out of the 50 hours that you've got available, 10 hours per week will be spent on those supporting tasks. That means that gives you 40 hours in a week to spend delivering that client work. Now you've decided that for the next 12 months ahead, you are going to have available, let's say 50 weeks in that year. You're going to be very mean. You're going to allow 2 weeks in that year. You're going to have downtime. Again, doesn't matter about the mechanics. Remember the free online calculator that I mentioned? You can put those variables into the calculator and let it do the hard work for you. So let's recap. We have 40 hours of delivery. We have 50 weeks in the year. That gives us a cool 50 times 40. That gives us 2,000 hours of available chargeable time. The next thing, we tot up what our level of overhead and support costs will be. And just to keep the numbers easier, let's assume that's £10,000 per year. We then got a target profit that we wish to aspire. And depending where we are in our business cycle, we might decide that we're aiming for £20,000. So what we've got £30,000 is the figures that we want to recoup. We've got 2,000 hours to do that in. And therefore, if we divide one by the other, that gives us a cool £15 per hour. Now that £15 per hour is a benchmark figure. It's not necessarily the final figure that you might charge out to your clients. You're going to have to do other things as well about thinking where you rank with the work, the value, the transformation. But these are typical minimal figures. Now what will happen is if you've got less hours available, the charge out rates will go up. If you've got more hours available, you increase your capacity, then that means it's even better. If you reduce the amount of time you're spending on admin and support tasks, again, what's going to happen? The hourly rate itself will diminish. If you've got more hours that you want to spend on development work, then obviously the hourly rate will go up. And all this is doing is giving your guidance a reference point that you can use when you come to think about the figures that you need to charge. Now, most people will talk about different ways of valuing your time and your services, and I'm all for that. But if you don't have an understanding of the connection with the costs as a minimum benchmark figure in the background, then you're going to be going round and round in circles, and you might as well be doing that with your business. So folks, I hope you found this useful. Remember to check out the free online calculator. Check out last week's episode where we talked about cost plus pricing, mostly relating to retailers and manufacturers, but that can be extending itself beyond that. This week, we've talked about pricing when it comes to service and time. Check out the show notes, check out the video link. And if you've got any questions or things that you'd like covered in a future episode, please by all means, drop a comment in the comments box. Until then, have a wonderful week and happy calculating.